Do you have to change as a man to get more dates and to find the right girlfriend and life partner? Welcome to another episode of the Dating and Relationship Revolution podcast. My name is David Meessen. I'm a professional dating and relationship coach, and over the years I've helped men from 26 different countries get a better social life and find the right girlfriend, life partner, and wife. And today I want to talk about the subject of identity. Do you have to change as a man to attract more and better, or the right kind of women for you into your life? Well, in order to be able to answer that, we first have to define what your self actually means. What does self mean? Is it having? Is it doing? Is it being? Is it what you have? Is it what you do? Is it who you are? Well, we can first of all rule out the having category, because evidently what you have doesn't determine who you are. No, it depends. Some people very much define themselves by the watches they have, the resources they've acquired, and the various different status symbols. My favorite one is when men feel the need to wear, we talked about that in the last video, when men feel the need to wear another man's name on their underwear, Calvin Klein, or whatever the case may be, right? That's the most hilarious thing to be. So some people definitely define themselves by what they have. Some men do that, but that's evidently going to lead to frustration, because what if what you have disappears, then you disappear? That's evidently not it. Is it what you do? Well, you could make a very strong case that you are what you do, because if you do a lot of good in this world, then you're a good person. If you do a lot of bad, then you're a bad person. So what you do, that's a lot closer to the truth. Now, in many spiritual texts, and a lot of personal development in various different religions, the idea of who you are is very much tied to being. Now, what does that mean, being? Yes, there's this idea in Germany, we have this idea that die Würde des Menschen ist unantastbar, which basically means the worth of a human being is untouchable. In other words, you can never do anything bad. It means you're not supposed to do anything bad to the worth of another human being, but it also means it is untouchable. So if your worth, if your being is something that's untouchable, that is just there, that's a great concept. That's something to tap into in a meditation session, and it's maybe even a very powerful overarching concept that we have to have in society in order to not do harm to each other, because we respect each other's worth so much. But in practical terms, that doesn't really help, because if you ask yourself whether or not you have to change as a man to attract the right kind of woman and to keep her, you're probably more thinking in terms of the personality. Now, what does personality mean? Well, there's certain things that you're born with, certain traits. Are you a little bit more introverted? Are you a bit more extroverted? By the way, Andrew Huberman from Stanford says that the only scientifically documented difference between introverts and extroverts is the fact that introverts get more dopamine from social interactions than extroverts. Now you might be thinking about it and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, think about it again. Introverts get more dopamine from social interactions than extroverts, which means they're satiated quicker. 80% of my clients are introverts. So I know that very well. Me personally, I'm extroverted, so I get less dopamine from social interactions, so I need more. People sometimes say, well, I'm an introvert. I like spending time by myself. Really? So extroverts don't like spending time by themselves? Everybody likes spending time by themselves, just different proportions. You like spending more hours a day by yourself than in social contact. But just because you're an introvert, that does not at all mean that you don't enjoy and love and need social contact. We all need that. So that's an example. That's something you're born with. That's a tendency. But so first of all, let's address that. Is that something you have to change? Well, before we get into that, again, let's look at self. Let's stick with this idea of self first. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Pardon me. So this is something you're born with. Then there's other parts of your personality that you've cultivated over time. And those can be certain character traits, habits. Do you go to the gym regularly? Well, that's something you do. Do you consume a lot of drugs? It's something you do. Do you donate to charity? Do you get angry quickly? Are you very patient? Are you very warm? Are you very loving? Are you the nice guy? Do you like treating women in a kind way? So you can see we're really talking about who you are, not necessarily in terms of the being, but the doing side of things. And so let's crack into it. Do you have to change those things? Well, there's certain things you'll have to change in order to attract the right girlfriend and life partner. And there's certain things you should never ever change about yourself because it'll lead to a lot of unhappiness. Let's talk about the things you should never change about yourself. Those are your core values. The things that make you you. In other words, the emotional states you want to experience for yourself and the emotional states you want others to experience. For example, respect. You want to be respected. You want other people to be respected. You want a degree of freedom and autonomy in your life and agency, and you want that for other people as well. You should never change those things because they make you who you are. Because partially, okay, so it's interesting, right? Partially you've chosen your values, partially you've uncovered them. And I know there's a great debate about it. Jordan Peterson, for example, says he says you can't define values, you can only discover them. Pardon me, I think he says you can't create values, you can only discover them. And that may be true, but I also believe that we can choose certain values very consciously. Now, this free will debate is not the subject of today, but you have certain values, be that chosen or born with, that make you who you are that you should never ever change. One of them is that you like being kind. You like being the nice guy. Should you have to change that? Do you have to become an asshole for women to be attracted to you? Absolutely and utterly not. Being kind, being nice, being respectful is the only sustainable base for any kind of relationship. And this idea that you have to start treating women terribly for them to be attracted to you, only the wrong women will love you if you treat them terribly. But it is true that the quote-unquote jerk exhibits certain behaviors that women love. Now, the good thing is, which is something that I help my clients in my coaching program with in detail, which is something you got to learn to do as well. You can learn the principles of what they're doing, the positive things, and completely ignore the negative. For example, one of the characteristics that you have to change about yourself is your neediness. How needy you are in interactions with women, how much you need the interaction to go well, how carefree you are. Another thing that you do have to change is your communication. And communication is very much something you do. Now, how you communicate, that's a big subject. Being kind, being nice is evidently a form of being, but also a form of communication. But you've never learned to build attraction. You've never learned the psychology and the dynamics of man to women interactions. These are things you'll have to learn. So yes, you'll have to change your communication and certain things you do to become attractive to women, but you'll never have to change the essence of what makes you you. What I help my clients with, what I encourage you in this video to do is to always communicate honestly. In fact, I want you to become even more honest. This is another thing you do have to change. You think you're so honest and genuine, but you're actually not. If you happen to get friend-zoned, it means you're not communicating your interest, your intent. You're not communicating premise of the opening of the conversation. You're not honest. You pretend to be a friend, and then a couple of weeks later, you kind of reveal your true hidden agenda, and that's just weird and creepy. The honest thing you could do is just be super upfront and create a man-to-woman connection within the first half an hour or hour and a half or even 5 minutes of meeting her. That is something you have to change. But I really want you to know, I really need you to know that who you are as a person, the things you really love about yourself, you don't have to change. If you love being kind, if you love being a nerd, if you love being into business, into real estate, if you're a doctor, lawyer, these nerdy aspects of your personality, you don't ever have to change them, because the right kind of women, they will not judge you for your nerdy hobbies. They're going to think of them as cute. Okay, I have certain hobbies or certain character traits that Fernanda thinks of me as cute. For example, let's tap into this. A part of who we are as a man is masculine energy, but also feminine energy. All men and women have masculine and feminine energy. And one of the things that I had to learn to do over the many years of learning this dating process, getting an insane amount of experience myself, teaching it to clients from all over the world, is to, yes, cultivate my masculine side a lot more, which is something that I was lacking in the relationship with my ex-wife. That's why I allowed her to boss me around. Let me give you a very concrete example. On the weekends, I would sometimes go and visit her parents. Saturday, we'd stay over. We wouldn't dare touch each other in their parents' house. And then we'd stay over until Sunday and spend the entire Sunday there, and I'd be bored out of my mind. I would have rather done something completely else. I'd rather train martial arts, but I felt it was expected to do that. So I gave in to doing things she expected of me. I didn't set boundaries. I didn't lead. I wasn't polarizing. I wasn't honest enough. I was changing my opinion. I was very kind and nice, super kind and nice, but it led to me suffering a lot. And then evidently the marriage ended as well. So obviously we need to train our masculine side. And this is 80-90% of what I help my clients with at a very high level. Obviously there's technical details to that. But you also have to be in touch with your feminine side. And I sometimes say that jokingly when women say, this is so cute, or this is so gay what you're wearing, as if that's an insult. But, this is so gay or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm very much in touch with my feminine side. You can say that as a joke, but it's actually true. I am very much in touch with my feminine side. Nobody can be a tough guy all day long, right? And the proportions to which you feel comfortable being masculine, or showing warm, sensitive, like even vulnerable feminine sides of your aspect, those proportions are individual, and to which extent you show them, that's completely up to you. But you do have to learn to show both, because I'm a lot more masculine than a lot of men. Martial arts, certain, very masculine character traits, but I'm also very, very feminine. Fernanda calls these aspects of my personality cute. She probably means, silly or weird or gay or whatever, right? She picks up on these, but she doesn't judge me for that. It doesn't lessen her attraction for me at all, but it would if there wasn't a very, very strong masculine core to my communication, if I didn't understand the details of communication, attraction, and the social dynamics between men and women. So yes, there's certain things you got to change about yourself, but the essence of what you're going to communicate has to always be honest and authentic, because you can never have a high quality relationship with an amazing woman if you have to pretend to be someone you're not to get her, because then shit is going to break down 6 months down the line. Because make no mistake about this is about establishing meaningful, long-term, high-quality relationships with women. And if they're supposed to last, you have to communicate in the beginning exactly the way you're going to communicate 2-3 years later down the line. There's never a 100% guarantee that a relationship is going to work out, but the probability is going to go from 20-30% to 90+% that it's going to go really well for a long period of time, which doesn't just mean staying together, but you actually also, it does mean that, but it also means you actually enjoy spending time together. There's physical attraction. She wakes up in the morning, she has a bright smile on her face because she's excited to see you. She falls asleep next to you. You're genuinely enjoying conversations, intellectual conversations. She gets to nerd out with you about your nerdy hobbies. She supports you. She doesn't judge you. So on the one hand, you should quickly disqualify the wrong women who judge you for your nerdy hobbies. On the other hand, you have to assume responsibility for improving your communication, for getting her interest. Because you can't just say, women, they just don't see how special I am, so away with them. It's just the dating market that's screwed. It's them. No. If you don't have the result that you want in any area of your life, and you live in the US, for example, or anywhere in the Western world, then it's your responsibility that you haven't created that. You don't know how to communicate around women, and you think, I think I do. Really, if you did know how to do that, be that on dating apps or in real life, you'd actually have the result. So on the one hand, do disqualify the wrong women who judge you for your nerdy hobbies, but also learn the skill of building attraction in order to get her interest initially, for her to want to stick around long enough for you to tell her something about your nerdy hobbies. And if you want to learn how to do that in detail and simply apply for a free initial consultation call, think about joining the coaching program, or rather just apply for a free initial call. We'll talk about every single thing in detail. We'll draw up an individualized plan for your situation. If you're a man with a busy career, your own business, if you're doing well for yourself, but you just haven't figured out that area of your life, let me help you. I've been able to do that so successfully with so many men from all around the world. I'd love to help you too. Looking forward to speaking with you soon.